the United States and Ukraine agreed to a 30-day ceasefire plan after Donald Trump put Zelensky in his place. Zelensky and all the European countries who promised to never pursue peace with Russia until they are defeated was quickly reminded that they are USA vassal states who have no say in the matter. In fact, Zelensky came back groveling to the United States and even apologized to Donald Trump after his White House meltdown at the suggestion that there should be peace between Russia and Ukraine. Now all the European vassals are repeating the same script, that the ball is now in Russia's court for there to be peace in Ukraine. You guys know that Russia is easily winning this war, right? Why does the losing and the hostile side believe that they have the right to dictate the terms of a ceasefire? Sergei Lavrov has made it clear that Russia is interested in solving the root cause of the Ukraine conflict, which is Western meddling and Western intervention into Ukraine. And it seems very unlikely that the ceasefire that is only 30 days would accomplish that. I really hope that we can see peace in the beginning of the end of this conflict, but the United States and Ukraine are delusional if they believe that they hold the cards here.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, we're back once again. Dude, this has been a great week. Make sure you guys check out the stream we did yesterday with Mario from Counterpoint China. Mario was one of those guests where you didn't have to carry him at all, man. Like that show, I had to toss the outline out immediately. That was very educational, very fun stream. We also had Jolie Barr on Monday. All these amazing guests, Greg Stoker, big shout out to Zoya. And now we have one of my absolute favorite shows, post duopoly. This is our like second post duopoly report card that we would have on the Trump administration. Now we have Trump. There's like all these warnings of recessions, tariff wars. You have the genocide that Trump is continuing to enable, and you have Trump that is starting a war with with Congressman Massey and getting his ass whooped. So much to discuss. We have Kit Cabello, Keaton, Rush from Due Distance. What's popping, my friends?
It's good to be back.
What's going on? Good to be back. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A year's worth of news happens every week now. So a lot to catch up on.
And as I predicted earlier, and I would love to get you guys' thoughts on this because this was breaking. When I was recording that hotspot video, I was still waiting to see what Russia was saying. I was just making predictions like, why would Russia accept these terms? And Russia, of course, came out and said that Russia will not agree to a 30-day ceasefire since it will only allow Ukraine to regroup and rearm. So this is the breaking. This came after my hotspot video. A temporary ceasefire is unacceptable. And you guys see how all the European leaders, everyone came out with the same phrase, that the ball's in Russia's court. So this is Trump's plan that I said a few weeks ago, where Trump will set up this peace proposal and it will be set up to fail. And now they're going to use this to justify further conflict with Russia. But Keaton, Russ, what's popping? I want to get your guys. I want to start with Keaton first regarding the first few weeks of the Trump administration. What do you guys think of the story? Let's start with Keaton.
Keaton or Kit?
Kit.
Oh, all right, cool. There's two K's here. Sometimes it could be. Well, I mean, let's be clear on the report card for Donald Trump and the mess that he inherited, and also what he helped quasi create, and also what Obama also laid down as well. You know, you look at this war and how it could easily been avoided, and what the simple demand was that Ukraine not be part of NATO. It was a buffer state region, and obviously with the amount of treasury and manpower lost by Russia and Ukraine, this whole idea for a ceasefire is rather a contentious one. And a deal needs to be made, because right now, if we look at certain other factors outside of them saying that they won't agree to it, number one, the United States just said at first they were saying they were done sharing information and intel, and then they did an Uno reverse card of saying, no, we're going to continue doing more sharing. We're getting a whole back and forth of what the deal is and what's going to be offered, which is causing a lot of confusion. After so much death and destruction, I mean, it's very clear that there's no idea of how the ceasefire will be achieved with the amount of blood that's been shed. And it's up to Trump and his administration, which he said as a campaign promise that he was going to put a ceasefire to, which he has not delivered on. He said he was going to do it in one day. It's been more than 1 day since the first few months of the Trump administration. And so there's a lot of confusion here. There's a lot of uncertainty here. And what does a true ceasefire look like after so much insanity, after so much, aggressive actions on both sides, where there is the inability to really agree to something on a piece of paper unless you see both Putin and Trump shaking hands, but then you got Zelensky in the background hoping to get that extra US dollar.
Yeah, very well said. Keaton, Russ, any reactions? What's your thoughts? Now we're back with another report card on the incoming Trump administration. Any thoughts? Let's start with Keaton, then we go to Russ.
Well, you know how when you take a driver's test, if you kiss the curb when you parallel park, that's an automatic fail. And so, to me, Trump has had several automatic fails.
That happened to me a few months ago.
Oh, it happened to me too. Actually, it didn't happen to me. I didn't kiss the curb. I almost hit the car in front of me when I went to parallel park, which is a much more expensive mistake than hitting the curb. So that was an automatic fail. Yeah, there are certain things where you do them and it's an automatic fail. I think he's had several automatic fails. I think the most recent automatic fail is obviously the criminal arrest of Mahmoud Khalil. To me, this is an automatic fail. What else is there to say? I mean, that is just rank Nazism, pardon me. As for the Russia ceasefire thing, this is not the first I'm hearing of it, but I haven't heard much of it today. So I'm probably not the best person to ask about that. Obviously, it was cathartic to see him, put Zelensky in his place in the Oval Office. But, as one of our callers pointed out to us on a Q&A, as great as that was to see, it still seems like he has no real idea how to end the war.
Especially, it seems like a political theater.
Well, especially if Europe is if Europe is willing to fund Ukraine, then we could still be pulled into it in some way as long as we're a part of NATO. Now, of course, the solution to that is to withdraw from NATO, which is something that a lot of people in MAGA circles have suggested, and I think they're right about that. But what is the process of doing that? And absent that, we're still at risk of being drawn into the war. And look, even if we withdrew from NATO, reality is reality. If the war goes global, the war goes global. And until it ends, there's always a risk of that. So if Europe is willing to back Ukraine, which seems suicidal to me, but if they're willing to do that, then there's always a risk of this going in an apocalyptic direction. At best, a catastrophic direction. At worst, an apocalyptic one. And so, as gratifying as that was to see, I still don't know how Trump gets to the end of the war.
Truth.
Yeah, and the reason why I said I believe it's political theater in hindsight, because we're in the same position we was a few weeks ago, where the Trump administration was still advocating for Western intervention and involvement in Ukraine. What Russia has made it clear is that they want Ukraine as a neutral buffer state, no European troops, because that's what Mike Waltz from the Trump administration, that was the Trump Russian peace proposal, was to have European peacekeeping troops. And that's what Russia opposed in the first place. And the reason why Russia don't want to set the ceasefire, because Ukraine is getting hammered on the battlefield. They're taking massive losses in Kursk. They're taking tremendous L's on the battlefield. So of course they want the ceasefire so they can pause and they can regain the fight, and just like Russia said earlier. And this is what key, and I want to get Russell in on this thought, because this helped me transition to our first solid topic. This is what's been the big story, and this solidifies Donald Trump as George W. Bush 2.0, 3.0, Ronald Reagan 10, whatever you want to call it, because this is essentially the new Patriot Act. I'll play this clip, and Russell, I'll get your thoughts. This is Trump's Karine Jean-Pierre They all the same. They're all the same. Doesn't matter what her name is, to be honest.
Rubio reserves the right to revoke the visa of Mahmoud Khalil, and I'm glad you brought this up. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke a green card or a visa for individuals who serve or are adversarial to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States of America. And Mahmoud Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's finest universities and colleges. And he took advantage of that opportunity, of that privilege, by siding with terrorists, Hamas terrorists who have killed innocent men, women, and children. This is an individual who organized group protests that not only disrupted college campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda. Flyers, Rubio.
So, Russ, I'll pass it to you. What's your thoughts?
I love that their version of Karine Jean-Pierre. She's like the Leave It to Beaver incarnation of Karine Jean-Pierre, and her last name is Leave It. So we should call her Carolyn Leave It to Beaver.
Actually, it just came out. You know, her husband is 60. Apparently, they met on Epstein Island. But
Jesus!
Whoa! Wow!
She wasn't one of the rub and tug girls. She was a bartender. She says.
Yeah.
So it's all coke.
I hope that's a joke, man. Because God, my
she
brain
was
is
the
vomiting.
snorkeling instructor on Epstein Island.
Not the 60-year-old husband part. That's true. That's true.
God.
That is true. Yeah, you notice you never see Skinny Saga and Fat Saga in the same place at the same time.
No, you don't, huh?
What's up with that?
It's a clone.
Yeah, no, these so much of what you see in politics from both sides, it's just an effort to build a narrative to give people some kind of plausibility to go along with whatever you're trying to push. Now they've been pushing the return of free speech. J.D. Vance gave that whole speech in Europe where he very carefully only called out a certain kind of free speech, said absolutely nothing about all of the journalists that have been arrested and harassed for reporting on Israel, particularly in England, said nothing about that. This is an extension of that. We knew, people on the left have been commenting since they passed the Patriot Act, that the day is going to come where an administration is going to do the obvious with the Patriot Act and equate dissent with terrorism. They're inching up to that. You saw it also with the Tesla dealerships, with calling that terrorism. Now some people say, well, what about the people who threw Molotov cocktails? They're creating a premise for arresting people protesting at a Tesla dealership who are not throwing Molotov cocktails. That's what all of this is. They're trying to lay the groundwork to shift the commonly agreed standard of terrorism so that they can use the Patriot Act in that way. I think that's the end game.
Absolutely. And the Trump administration is not even hiding it. And you guys, like, we don't use words lightly, but this is straight up fascism. This is straight up state cracking down on any dissent of their actions. The White House told the Free Press that the basis for targeting Khalil is being used as a blueprint for investigation against other students. So they're just getting started. Khalil is a threat to foreign policy and national security interests of the United States. So they're not even hiding it. This is why it's better than the Biden administration, because Biden administration will make up some bullshit. But Trump, they're like, no, he just disagrees with us on foreign policy, so we're stripping them from their First Amendment rights because they're supporting terrorism. And what does that word even mean? Why is it even in our interest for us to allow the government to define what a terrorist is? Because the last time I checked, it's the United States that is threatening the international court to protect a war criminal. So what does it mean to be a terrorist? Are you a terrorist when you commit war crimes? Because that's indict you, your family, your entire friends, the United States, UK, NATO. That means you're a terrorist. So if it's not based on who's committing war crimes, what is it based on? Is it based on if you're fighting illegally? Hamas has the legal right to armed resistance against a legal apartheid colonial regime. So they're not fighting illegally. So what is the basis in which they are terrorists? You got to see why it's extremely problematic that a government is trying to force their fake made-up ideology of terrorism on us, because their ideology of terrorism is fake. Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, according to the West. Are we? And listen, we
until 2008. Yep.
But Keaton, if anyone wants to
wow.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to blurt that out. But he was, until 2008, he was considered an international terrorist. Yeah.
So how's it in our interest to allow the government to be the sole arbiter of who is and who is not a terrorist? So the United States, and this is very prominent in the UK and Germany, where free speech is already gone. Like, it's been gone because they look at what they're doing to Richard Medders. They say if you support a terrorist organization, you no longer have any sort of rights. They can detain you. They can steal your equipment. Essentially,
go ahead,
Russ. Go for it.
And if you look at what they're doing, I think you have to look at these things together. If you look at the case they're trying to build, that Act Blue is being used to fund terrorism against Tesla because Indivisible is calling for boycotts of Tesla. They're really trying to move that line and get enough people to, let's face it, I mean, most people are ignorant. Every time we do a piece about, well, yeah, man, you could definitely make the argument that you could not just go after these agencies through constitutional means because Congress has funded them. But you have to admit that what they're doing is unconstitutional, and you're okay with that because you don't feel it could be done through the Constitution, which you can make an argument for. You can't argue, I believe in the Constitution, and I also believe the executive has the power to just ignore what Congress has funded. That's just a fact. But you get people screaming, what are you talking about? The Constitution doesn't say that. They're relying on that. They're relying on that. They know that most of the public has no idea what's in the Constitution, what's legal, what's not legal. It's all about winning the war of ideas. It's all about convincing enough people that no, actually boycotting is a form of terrorism. It's very Orwellian. If you can get enough of them to believe that, if you're boycotting in support of terroristic activities or people who have made terroristic threats, as long as they can muddy it up enough, they'll start making arrests.
And
then let's see what the courts are going to do. Meanwhile, you're in jail. We're doing a story tomorrow. They arrested a freaking British girl for she was doing where you stay in people's homes and do like domestic work for them as a way of making it cheap. She's a backpacker. She's freaking in ICE detention right now because they considered it work. Now, by the time she gets out of there, how long is that going to be? They're not even giving an end date because they're so overloaded with cases right now.
Jody Burrow just explained that. That's how they're engaging in this new era of fascism, where right now the laws on the book protect the people they are going after. So what they're doing, they're just fucking with them as they're trying to change the law.
Exactly. That's
this
what
dynamic.
They'll start arresting boycotters, and okay, man, you're in jail while it works its way through the courts.
Right.
Or with the Patriot Act, maybe you're on Guantanamo.
Well, or they could send you to Guantanamo anyway. They just did. They just did send a bunch of immigrants there. They let them go only because the plaintiffs in a lawsuit threatened them, or they said they have a right to speak to a lawyer, and they didn't want to let them speak to a lawyer while they were at Gitmo, so they let them go before they put them in touch with a lawyer. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think everything that both Russ, you and Nick just said is absolutely true. And Nick, what you said earlier, that's a question that we should ask to everybody. Even all of that aside, why is it in the interest of the American people to empower the government to declare people terrorists? It is only in your interest if you are an ignorant bootlicking bitch. That is the only way in which it's in your interest. And I'm sorry, the psyche of this country now, we are collectively an ignorant bootlicking bitch of a country. That's what this country is right now. This is the only way that this would make sense to anyone. And what's really Orwellian about this, and what's really eerie about this, Glenn Greenwald tweeted about this the other day. We covered it in the show yesterday. We're gonna clip this piece tomorrow. He said it's really wild how all of a sudden the right is willing to label people terrorists because they protest impolitely. When whatever you think about, like, look, I thought the January 6 people were overcharged. I thought the whole thing was basically an op-ed. I think they were overcharged. But I have to admit that was a bit of a rowdy protest, right? So were the occupations of the state courthouses during the COVID lockdowns. You had guys with machine guns show up to the Michigan courthouse. Imagine an action like that took place in the context of an Israel-Palestine protest. Imagine what the Biden administration would do to them, much less these people, right? And so it is only in the interest of the population to empower the government this way if the population is just completely brainwashed and subservient, which MAGA, at the end of the day, for all their chest beating and alpha male poser bullshit, they are a bunch of fucking cucks at the end of the day. And that's being polite about it. That's being polite about it. They are pathetic. It is a pathetic, fraudulent movement at this point. And if this Mahmoud Khalil thing doesn't prove that, I don't know what will. And it's only been 6 weeks. They couldn't even last 100 days. They couldn't even keep their macho bullshit thing going for 100 days.
Yeah, and I love talking to these people, and I'll pass it right to you, kid. But I love talking to these people because if you believe that the government, which they do, like these people believe, if you support Hamas, of course the government should go after it. If you believe the government has the right to label their enemies as terrorists, we might as well get rid of the Second Amendment. Give up your guns. I tell them this all the time. If you believe the government has the right to do that, you might as well give up your goddamn gun right now. Because if you ever took up guns standing up against state tyranny, because that's what they always say, right? We need guns to stand up against state tyranny. The second your ass do that, what's going to happen? They will label you as a terrorist, and now you have no rights. And that's the future they advocate for, as they say they care about the Second Amendment. I apologize, kid. I'll pass it right to you.
Well, if we also look back, this isn't the first time we've seen Americans being treated as terrorists or traitors. I mean, there was the Uhuru Group under the Biden-Harris administration. So this population, no matter who sits in the White House, is always going to be designated and programmed, whoever controls the reins of power, to believe that the other is the enemy. And this is where the establishment system and our corporate media has successfully brainwashed all of us into viewing each other as each other's opponents. And that's the problem with electoral politics that I think that this panel here has been really trying to drill in people's heads. And that's, we got to break away from that idea of team Democrat or team Republican, because whoever controls controls the Senate, the House, the White House, or whoever's going to have their control over the Supreme Court, all it is just alienating and imprisoning your enemy, and that is your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your friend. And I'm worried about the future of free speech and what we do here. And this Trump administration, as much as I want to hold out the audacity hope that there could be a reversal and maybe the opening of speech, I realize, Kit, you're being just too idealistic, because that's never coming back. It just doesn't exist. It reminds me of that conversation in the first Jurassic Park movie, the good one, where John Hammond's saying, when we have control again. And the thing is, we will never have that control again of free speech, because it was gradually taken away from us because of corporate media, the politicians, and everything else in between, and our own silent, obedient consent. And that includes us as well. And so what's happening right now to this individual who's being, detained and potentially being deported, I just want to remind anyone on both sides of the aisles, and hell, my independents as well, what's happening to this guy, if it becomes precedent, will happen to all of us. And this should have everyone on edge. This should have everyone concerned. And I am all for free speech. I'm all for it. But as soon as you start bolting up the doors and closing up the windows, that's it. None of us are getting out. And now none of us are going anywhere.
Yeah, it's very important to the point that Russell made earlier on how the ruling class tried to redefine the rights that we have. Why do you guys think they tried to arrest Julian Assange for? I still remember arguing with liberals for years, and arguing with people who supported the state going after Julian Assange, not even American, by the way. They said, well, he's not a journalist. What do you mean he's not a journalist? They will use that as a justification on why the government had the right to crack down. You guys see why I have a very loose interpretation of what it means to be a journalist? You can qualify it. You can say X person is a horrible journalist. This person is a clickbait journalist. This person is a trash journalist. But I think being a journalist is very open. If you have a platform, if you have the ability to share a story, you are a journalist, whether you're a prominent journalist, whether you're a working class journalist, whether you're a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, whether you're like on the level of the gray zone. To me, I'm just a humble working class citizen journalist. This is the root of journalism. That's why it always was against our interest to allow the government to define these terms for us, and that's why we always push back on. I want to get this shout out because you guys know this is a great time for RBN. Not only we put bangers back, we are Brother Rome back, and we're back in business, man. I'm very excited to have Rome back. We got this big giveaway we give it in Chicago. We're gonna be your backyard.
Gonna be in my backyard
once again, man. And we both in I gotta be careful. I think we meet up with Fred Hampton Jr. too. I think he's hoping.
Are you?
We're having a big event about.
Awesome!
About so it's gonna be.
Oh wow!
Great. It's gonna be fire. I saw Ron just text me before the show. Ron, if you're in the chat, man, let us know. I saw you texting. So
those are diapers. Those are diapers. I thought those were like soda cases for a second. Just selling sodas. No, those are diapers. That's the mutual aid thing. Cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So Ron said Fred Hampton said we're gonna set everything up on the 21st when he's back in the country. So this is gonna be a banger, man. So I'm very happy with how everything is being rebuilt here. I just want to give a shout out. Make sure you guys support this.
And if I can make an announcement too.
I'll pass right to you, kid. But I just gotta do an unapologetic shout out to my brother Rome. Make sure you guys donate to Tour for the Poor. Zoya, if you're watching, make sure we edit these in the description. Sorry, kid. I just want to make sure I do that plug.
No. Because it's related. Because Friday, I'm going to have the individual known as Rome on Hardlands Media Friday morning, 9 a.m. Nice. So that's going to be awesome. I actually spoke with him on the phone. He was really excited. So we'll see what happens. We'll go forward to that. And when he comes into my city again, hopefully I could do maybe a more live in-person interview or something like that.
Yeah, it's a good time, man. So you guys understand. There's been a lot of pressure on me, man. Down 2 out of the 3 founders, us being unsure what's going on. It's just so happy to have Rome back. You know what I mean? I feel like everything is picking back up. You know what I mean? But anyway, let's get back. I just got. I'm promoting
that's a mutual aid drive that he's got with the.
Yeah, this is starting today. 20,000.
Oh, great, awesome. That's amazing.
So, so I'm unapologetically like plugging this every stream because this is the start. I told you guys we are rebuilding our big mutual aid infrastructure. Like the whole thing what happened in Rome, we had a lot of setbacks, but we are back in the game, so it's very exciting. So I'll be plugging this a lot. Make sure you guys follow me. I'll retweet this, everything. We're gonna put this in on the description. You guys know Zoya's love, Zoya's life. So let's get back to the topic at hand. I'm sorry I gotta do this to you guys, but just to refocus, I'm gonna show you guys this fascist, Mike Johnson. This is more of the deeply problematic language because once your mind is decolonized, you look at people who are seen as respectable. Like Mike Johnson is seen as respectable. I'm a hoodlum. I am the person to be put on blacklist. You don't talk to RBN. We're the hoodlums. Mike Johnson is considered respectable, but he sounds like outright fascist here. This is him justifying the state crackdown, and then you guys can respond to this, and I'm gonna show you guys why they're panicking so much.
Yeah. In your estimation, what crime did Mahmoud Khalil commit to warrant his arrest, detention, and potential revocation?
Let me tell you something. I went face down the angry mob at Columbia at the height of that stuff.
Oh, God.
He was asked directly, what crime did he commit? Let me tell you something. I looked directly at the mob.
Yeah. The great protest.
Gary Cooper with his chaps and his sidearms.
Exactly. Rode in on my horse.
Yeah. I faced them down, I tell you.
Let me tell you something. I went face down the angry mob at Columbia at the height of that stuff. When the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas, protesters were there. I'm telling you, this is my own observation, not something I read in a newspaper. It was dangerous. I met with Jewish students before we went to campus who were holed away off campus because they were instructed by the administration not to come to class, which they paid for fear of their physical safety. The administrators there refused to take control of that campus. They refused to allow the PD to come, the police department to come in and take control, and it turned into a chaos. The president has since been removed, and now they got the same problem again. Columbia and other universities, they have to keep control of campus. The first responsibility of an administration is ensuring the safety of the students who are paying tuition to be there, for crying out loud. This madness has to stop.
You see how the ruling class is labeling protests as something that is dangerous to the public? But let's continue.
We have to get control of it. This guy apparently was a mastermind of those very things. When the gnashing of teeth, people screaming at me, wanting to rip me limb from limb because I was there talking about moral clarity and how there's a right and a wrong. They were doing that. They disrupted the campus. They were threatening physical violence to their fellow students. If you're on a student visa, I'm going to say this clearly. If you are on a student visa and you're in America and you're an aspiring young terrorist who wants to prey upon your Jewish classmates, you're going home. We're going to arrest your tail and we're going to send you home where you belong. And this is just getting started. So, look, I appreciate free speech.
There are some problems.
Okay, if you want to chime in.
Yeah, there is some problems because what happened? Look, because here's the thing. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, no matter where you stand politically and where you stand on the aisle. But, there's a thing called false accusations. What happens when a person is falsely accused of a crime they didn't commit? Because this is opening up a can of worms. Like, oh, you said you're part of that protest. You're saying something. Oh, that means you're attacking me. Let me file a police report. Let me do something against you. Let me do something frivolous against you. I could see that can of worms just being opened up and all the disgust sliming out.
Also, it's a lie. No one was told not to go to class. No one was told not to go. If that happened, we'd have all heard about it. We've all had our eyes glued to this issue. No, there's no evidence for anything he's saying. He's just a liar.
Wall to wall.
Yeah.
Wall to wall. It doesn't matter. They're softening you up to accept the basic formulation that they can define what terrorism is, and that the people who are dissenting, it's starting here because this is the low-hanging fruit. They got AIPAC behind them. Americans don't care that much about foreign policy in general. This is the easy place for them to start to set a standard where they can just all go and speak with one voice. Yeah, these people are terrorists. These people are terrorists. These people are terrorists. And go after green card holders first. Go after people on student visas first. Once you have your base, your followers used to that, then you start going after in a big way, like they're starting to lay the groundwork for with Tesla protests. Then you start to go after domestic dissent. Well, we have, they're supporting terrorist organizations. They're linked to terrorist organizations. And they say, what's your evidence for that? They'll do the same thing they did here. Let me tell you what happened last week at a place that you've never been and a thing you've never seen. Let me tell you what happened. You can't overstate how dangerous these people are. And it's very transparent what their plans are and what they're trying to do and what they're softening people up for with this kind of rhetoric. It's what Chris Hedges says. What they do there is practice. Eventually, they'll do it to you here. And we can see within the United States, a microcosm of that. They're doing it to these green card holders and student visa holders first, on the way to doing it to American citizens.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to that is they didn't quite come for them first. Who'd they come for first? The people with no documentation at all.
Yeah.
And nobody thought there was a problem.
That's a good
Nobody
point.
thought it was a problem because, hey, they were here illegally, and what if they commit crimes and this and that? And, we'll put a facility on Guantanamo Bay for some of them, and, who gives a shit? We couldn't get anybody to give a shit. We did a few segments on our show about Guantanamo Bay being opened up for migrants. Crickets. Nobody watched the videos. Nobody cared, right? No. And we kept saying, this is step one, right? So that's where it starts. It starts with the people who have, quote, no right to be here at all. Then the green card people, and then the Tesla boycotters, and on down the line. This is why, as we've been saying, if ever the phrase applied, first they came for Group X and I said nothing because I was not in Group X. Well, here we are now.
I also want to add on here too. You also add in the celebrity credibility of Dr. Phil here in Chicago, especially asking one of the immigrants, "How do you know me?" And of course, all the memes come out from it, and everyone was just saying, "Well, they're going after the bad guys." But there was one thing also that I want to add on here. When they were going after all the migrants, just so everyone knows, Tom Holman was saying, "Yeah, I want to expand it beyond just the criminals. I want to get everyone. He wants them all. Got to collect them all. He has a whole Pokedex that he wants to get.
Well,
it's going to be everybody."
Well, he just Keaton. What did Holman just say? Free speech is
not limitless. Yeah, they had this fucking guy, this Holman, who looks like he was raised in a metal box.
Yeah,
looks like he's. That's what he looks like. He looks and sounds like he was raised in a metal box.
Yeah, I need to find a clip, man.
I was raised in a box.
We're gonna get a knock at the door.
My mother opens up the box. They put a bologna sandwich in the box. If I was lucky, they let me eat it with the lid open, and then they would take the sandwich wrapper back out of the box and close the box. They got a guy like that, a freak with no human qualities, no empathy, no soul, whatever, to oversee this. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also let's look at our quote unquote defenders, where you got AOC asking the dumbest question of all. "Hey, DOJ, am I being charged?" Like, come on, you never go to the police and say, "Hey, am I being charged?" Like, no, these are our fighters. God help us. And hey, did you notice that her name was oddly absent in that signature? There were only 14 Democrats and AOC and O'Connor were absent.
14.
Yeah. Hold that thought. Hold that thought, Kay, because we're definitely gonna get there soon. I want to highlight this comment because this is relevant. I saw this earlier. Funny how MAGA are snowflakes now playing the victim, kind of like a certain country. Now, I mentioned this before. The party that is the current occupier of the executive branch, whoever is the ruling class party, are always the current snowflakes, my friends. The same with Obama. When Obama was president, that's where the whole social justice warrior snowflake shit started. Then when Trump is in charge, they get offended whenever you criticize Trump. They said when Biden get back in charge, this is a very similar mechanism. This is why we call it red MAGA and blue MAGA. They have so very similar characteristics.
Oh yeah,
it's hilarious how they don't even realize it. And back to that clip 1 second, because this is wild.
That was like when Taylor Lorenz got together with Chaya Rychek and they were like the same person. It was like they were separated at birth.
Yeah.
And they always get along great. Like if they just hang out. They're very, very similar. They're from the same class generally. Like I said it many times before.
Same voice, same intonation.
Like look at Alyssa Slotkin. Like she was praising Reagan. They're Democrats now, especially the modern Alyssa Slotkin liberal. They were just Republicans with daddy issues. Like the reason why they became Democrat because that was their way to rebel against their Reagan supporter father. Now we're seeing them in their 50s and 60s, and we're seeing how they govern. They govern like fucking Reagan Republicans because that's what they always was. And now regarding the crackdown, this is why, and I want to get you guys thoughts on this. And I've been covering the Israel-Palestine issue ever since I started as a citizen journalist. The one thing that led me into it. I still remember like the Marianne Williamson interview. I still remember like the Vanguard and others. They said I low blow Marianne because I asked her about the one-state solution and the two-state. So they're like, Nick, why are you asking about? Remember, this is before October 7th, guys. That was before October 7th, and I was asking people about, hey man, what are your opinion about the two-state solution? And now, we had Greg Stoker on. And he explained very eloquently why the two-state solution is a joke. We have a lot of people who realize why the two-state solution is no longer viable. But not only that, I'll get on the extremes here. But let's dial it down. But even on a normal level, Americans are starting to have more sympathy for the Palestinians. And then you see this headline for Jerusalem Post is hilarious. Israel needs to wake up. So let's talk about this first before we move on. What's your guys' thought? I'll open it up to the panel. This shifting tide against Israel, and they played the big part of Mike Johnson and Donald Trump's fascist crackdown. Because remember, capitalism and these Zionists was tied to imperialism. They would never concede without struggle. And they were like, oh no, that's against the Constitution. They will rip that shit up before they'll concede power. So any thoughts before I move on, guys? I'll open to the panel real quick.
I would say, after everything that we have seen and what's going to happen, because, I think it's Keaton, you said it on Due Dissidence. I forget which live stream or which week it happened, but when it came down to the discussion of Gaza, like 80% of it, 90% of it, it's all a moonscape. It's impossible for life to get rebuilt. And especially how this administration and the previous administration made it abundantly clear that they're going to let Israel do what it wants. I hate being that person to say this is inevitable, but we're going to see a displacement of people take place in real time before us. And there were many times in which all this could have been avoided, but I can't help but wonder where there's going to be a moment of conscience where a lot of people are going to wonder or look back at all the movies, all the shows, all the books, all the comic books of, we're standing up to evil. And when it happens, when we see something like this, we'll step up and say never again. But it did happen. And each generation, Boomer, Xer, and Millennial, and Gen Z are going to have to shut up for a minute and be like, oh, we let this happen. We're not as strong as we thought we were. Our morals and our leaders are not where we want them to be. And this will come back to haunt us. One form or another, there's going to be a price to pay. And it might be too high for all of us.
Yeah, the poll, as I understand it, was it's now at 46% take Israel's side, 33% take the Palestinian side. So that is progress of a kind when you weigh that against the previous polling, obviously. But you still have a plurality siding with Israel. And I think the reason for that is because there are a lot of people, and according to this polling now, 20% are sort of undecided about it. I think there's still generally a feeling that the Palestinians, just like all the foreign Muslims, are these sort of, throwback terrorist or terrorist adjacent types who mean to destroy Western civil. Like, I think people are still indoctrinated with that, and I think that
there's
is
a big
what
age
is
gap to that too. Like when you look at the poll, a lot of the young people, they don't fall for that. And to your point, Kay, I'll let you continue. But
no,
I think that poll is heavily driven by like the boomer Gen X who's just been brainwashed by the Zionist propaganda their entire life. But you're right. That's a great point. Continue.
No, 100%. There's an age gap. And that's not surprising at all. But I think that is where it falls to everybody to make an affirmative case for the Palestinians. An affirmative case for the Palestinians, because I think a lot of people are of the opinion that, well, yeah, I mean, what Israel's doing now is overkill, right? With the carpet bombing and the women and children. So we don't like what they're doing. So we're not going to affirmatively say we're pro-Israel, but we're not going to take Palestine's side because we're afraid of those kinds of people anyway. And that's because of 24 years of post 9/11 brainwashing, in addition to everything prior to 9/11, but especially, I mean, that really kind of ramped up after 9/11, and so I think it falls to people who understand that there is an affirmative case to be made for Palestine, to make that case, and I won't say much more because it's not my channel. I don't want to get you thrown off of here, but yeah, there has to be an affirmative case made for Palestine.
Keaton, hold my beer. Here I
am.
All right, there you go.
Well,
go ahead, Russ.
I think a lot of MAGA is very conflicted about all this. This is what's kind of interesting about that coalition. Most of them are not pro-Israel. A good portion of them, and I'm not saying being anti-Zionist is anti-Semitic. There is a good portion of them who are anti-Zionist because they're anti-Semitic within the MAGA coalition. A good number.
Right, and they're not pro-Palestine either. In that
they're
way.
not.
Right.
They're not pro-Palestine.
They always hilarious because I've always been like, what about the Christian Zionists? They're like, no, they're actually brainwashed by the Jews. Oh, come on.
Here's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's a big part of the MAGA coalition. So, like, when I went to Madison Square Garden, I wasn't inside the rally. I was in the neighborhood. I just hung around outside a little bit and took some footage. There were Orthodox Jews there and doing their thing, dancing around, holding up the Israel flag with the MAGA flag. the people around them just kind of like, yeah, well, boss says we got to put up with this shit. I guess we got to put up with this shit. They weren't into it. They weren't like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like they were totally ignoring them as their own thing, but tolerating it. So you got some people in the MAGA. We've met some who are legitimately pro-Palestine. We have a viewer, Crystal Waters, that I actually met at Rescue the Republic, who was holding up a big MAGA for Palestine thing, who I think had much higher hopes for this administration than were warranted. I think she's come around to agreeing with us on that at this point. You do have those, but what you have in common with pretty much all of them is they're willing to shrug their shoulders and say, yeah, I don't really like Trump's policy on this, but that's the price for all this winning. Chainsaw! That's the price for those glorious moments with the chainsaw. We have to put up with this. I don't think there are very many MAGAs who are not Zionists first within that coalition who support the policy, but the vast majority of them are willing to look the other way.
I've had my run-ins with a few people who are Trumpers and MAGA supporters who are not a fan of what's going on in Gaza, but also what's leading to the division too. And I think we could see a schism, and that is this conflict between Thomas Massey and Trump and the GOP. So there's a lot of things to take into account.
They care more about that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's also another thing to make people put pause and wonder, okay, well, wait a minute. You've been talking for a ceasefire, Trump, and trying to stop ceasefire in Ukraine, and maybe I guess some people did hold on to the hope of ending the conflict in Gaza, but I've run into some Trumpers who are against this, and I think we need to remember it shouldn't be all of them that we should be painting a brush with, because I mean, if we could get a build coalition across the political spectrum to say, hey, we don't want this to happen, then okay, let's have the open dialogue and try and get something done. It's better to reach out and be like, hey, are you for this or are you against it? They say, I'm against this, then let's bring them on board. Let's try and build up our legion up to maybe end what's potentially could happen. But what can happen, what's going to happen is that I know that Trump and his administration is going to give the keys to Israel and say, here's Gaza, here's West Bank, have at it, Haas.
Well, no, you're absolutely right about that. But this is really, I mean, this is shit or get off the pot time. And I'm sorry it came 6 weeks in. I'm sorry you didn't get a longer honeymoon period. But if this Mahmoud Khalil thing is not...
Yes.
I agree. I mean, if this is not a line in the sand for you, then you are an enemy past this point. The fucking guy's sitting in a jail 1,000 miles away from home for doing nothing wrong. For all this bullshit they want to say about, well, I went to the campus and I stood down the mountain. They have not accused this guy of doing anything wrong. The guy has done nothing wrong, and he's in a jail 1,000 miles away from his pregnant wife, who could give birth any day now. And the reason because I was reading, because we're doing a segment on this tomorrow, apparently the motivation for sending him down to Louisiana is so that he could be tried in the Fifth Circuit, which is the most conservative court in the country, as opposed to being tried in New York. So they wanted to send him to a place where the judges were most likely to rule in Trump's favor.
Secret Zionist court, and like a court where Zionists know the win rate is 100%. And you guys are 100% right about there's a few people in MAGA that sin, and that's why I'm very aggressive, because I'm an aggressive post-duopolist, because I welcome like MAGA and liberals who follow me, who appreciate my perspective, but I will quickly call them out how they're enabling someone who is against their core interests and how they're hypocrites for doing that. That's why I went after Ian Carroll. That's why I went after Dave Smith. People who make great arguments against Israel. I don't give a fuck if you literally sheep herd them to Zionism, because despite like this wing of MAGA that is against Zionism, the Ben Shapiro wing of MAGA is the wing of MAGA with the most influence. The Pam Bondi wing of MAGA, guys, is the wing of MAGA with the most influence. Right. And I want to show this, and I have my brother Roman here. I'm gonna bring my brother Roman here. I want to bring this. I want to get Roman on here on this, because we're the post-duopoly show. Roman, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. I don't know if you're trying to join, man.
This Rome. All right.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But we're post-duopoly. Now we rip MAGA. Now we're here to explain how liberalism enables fascism once again. So as we are continuing to call MAGA out and hold Trump responsible, we have to bring up how the fact that the Democratic Party set this up. And I believe this. I will admit that I have no way to prove this, but there's no doubt in my mind that if Kamala Harris would have won and the Democratic Party did not have an election that they was worried about winning, and imagine if Kamala got the mandate to commit genocide, the mandate of killing Palestinians, she 100% would have did the same thing because Biden was already licking the chops. They was asking the legal questions. And I'll read the headline, and I'll bring my brother Roman on this. Biden administration says it can revoke visas of Hamas supporters, and that gets to what Kit mentioned yesterday, that there's a reason why the Democrat opposition to this has been very muted. AOC later signed a fucking bullshit letter after she got pressured. But there's only like 15, 20 Democrats who spoke out against this. So with that said, I want to bring our brother in Roman. It's been a long time since we've all streamed together, brother. We got Roman in the post-Duopoly show.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Hey.
Chilling, man. Enjoying my time out.
Man, yeah, it's great to have you back, man. I want to get your thoughts. I know you've been watching this fascist crackdown. I'll just explain how the Democrats was enabling this, and there was this letter, and the whole panel can react to this. I'm gonna start with Rome, but you have Rashida Tlaib. Well, she's joining 13, so it's 14 Democrats that signed this letter. Once again, I didn't even see the whole letter AOC signed. She put a letter out later, to be clear, because she was pressured because the people immediately like, why the fuck AOC wasn't on here? But anyway, only 13 Democrats is speaking out against the most overt fascism of the Trump administration, locking up people for dissent. So let's start with Rome, and we can go around the panel. Kid, I know you mentioned this earlier, so we can riff on this topic, but let's start with Rome.
What's going on, man? It feels good to be back, but I see the same shit is going on, man. And like I said before, I think one of my last shows, if Rashida Tlaib was serious about any of these things, she would have been left the Democratic Party when the elections was going on, and you see all them, basically gearing up to kill her hometown, like and her family members and whatnot. So if she was actually serious about all of these things, she would have led a movement out here. Detroit is very big, and you can get people out here every day to protest these things. People have been protesting Israel every day. Every day they are out here right now, so there is no excuses from these people, especially, Ilhan Omar, AOC, even the people who had lost their positions, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, all of these people, they are all just puppets on the string of this left-right bullshit. Democrat, Republican, no matter what it is, who they tell you that they all are the same people. They all controlled by the same corporations. They all controlled by the same fucking puppeteers. So yes, they might say, hey, this is wrong. Sign this piece of paper and help these people out. This is wrong.
Currently written letter.
Like, what the fuck is a letter going to do? And even if we was to get these people, like, that's not going to stop anything. It's not going to stop anything. If they can take this man who has a permanent green card here and take him and deport him, they can deport y'all asses next. And this is going to be the next step. The next step is start deporting some of these young people, some of these anti-Zionists, these anti-American people. They're going to come down. They're going to crack down on the Luigis. They're going to crack down on the Romes, on the Knicks, on the motherfucking Kentons, on the Kits and Russ. They're going to crack down on all of us because this is how the dominoes falls. These people always write these fucking letters like it mean anything. What we need right now is an opposition party that's actually going to do stuff, hold them accountable. And I don't mean just, hey, here's a fucking letter, this isn't right. No, I mean, like, actually push back, do something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
You're not excited for the Bernie rallies, Rome? You're not excited for the Bernie rallies? With the MSNBC boomer crowd?
Like, man, people still falling for that shit. Like, goddamn. It's
yeah,
crazy,
no,
though.
people are.
it's crazy how people still fall for the shit, but there is no opposition party in America right now. You know what I'm saying? You have Democrats acting like they want to do anything, but they don't do anything for real, man. They made fun of Trump. They made fun of Trump for fucking Space Force, and they are the ones who signed it into law. So all these people, all of them work in cahoots with together with each other to bring you down. Like, this is a capitalist society. You got to understand, this is a capitalist society. They are working together to do everything that they can to bring you down, to keep you down, to make you another foot up under the iron fist of imperialism. So I don't look at them. Even if AOC would have signed that fucking letter, so fucking what she would have done? She would have said, "Oh, this isn't right. You can't do this. You shouldn't do this." Okay, and then what? You know what I'm saying? You're not holding any marches or speeches in front of these people's houses, in front of these people's corporations. You're condemning the people who protest. It took you. We had to basically stump you to make you say genocide. You know what I'm saying? We basically had to.
DOC still haven't apologized for that lie she told.
Man, like, I've been saying it was a genocide. No, the fuck you didn't. No,
she had to be forced at the movie theater. Did you see the aftermath where her boyfriend or whatever, her partner, tried to put his arm around her? She's like, "Get off!" No, that's out there. I've been trying to find that video now I can't find it. It's pure gold.
They like, fuck this. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a fascist government, a fascist government, y'all. Our corporations control our governments. It control our bills, from Delta to Boeing and all these motherfuckers. Like,
Europe is getting rid of the milkman. They just straight up have BlackRock as their prime minister.
Right. Like you have said before, how do we vote George Soros? Who voted for George Soros? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is fascism, and we got to treat it accordingly. You can't come with half measures and then expect for anything to get done. If you come with half measures, then they're going to chop off half of that already. And this was my problem with Bernie Sanders and his movement. They didn't want to go on reparations. They didn't want to go for this. They didn't want to go for that. They want to come from half measures. It wasn't universal health care. It was Medicare for all. And what they're going to do, as soon as you get to the negotiation table, when you already fucking negotiated half of your shit gone, they're going to negotiate and get the rest of that shit going. Like, okay, well, we're going to do this, and that, and that's it. And now you're looking at the future. Now it's looking like a lot of these older people aren't going to be getting their disability checks or Social Security checks and whatever it may be. You can blame that on Trump, but remember when Joe Biden, we successfully crushed Medicaid, whatever the fuck he said. Like, yeah. All them people are cahoots together. I don't know why the fuck y'all fall for the shit. Like, I'll always say, these motherfuckers treat these politicians like they are celebrities, like they are wrestlers. Like, this is some type of design. Like, this is their entertainment. Like, Bernie Sanders is like fucking Kendrick Lamar to these people, or fucking Eminem, or whatever the fuck. And they just like, oh, well, you know, he ain't the best, but he's like, no, he ain't nothing. He's a right winger. Bernie Sanders is a right winger. And the sooner you get that drilled in your fucking head, AOC is a right winger. Bernie Sanders is a right winger. They work with fascists. They work to crush strikes and marches. Remember when the railroad people wanted to go on strike, and they crushed them. Okay, then these are right-wing policies. There's nothing left about it. The sooner you guys get that shit drilled in your head, the more we can move the fuck on with what we actually got to do. Because when you're spending time and money on these things, you just wasting resources. Nick had asked Marion Wilson, "What if we gave Bernie $100 million?"
Now they talking about doing it again. They want to do it again. I want to do this in here as well.
Run him again. No, come on.
We just gave
Bernie to run Rahm Emanuel, my mayor. That's who they want to bring out.
Ro Khanna wants to be the heir apparent, which is why he came on our show and asked if we will vote for Bernie Sanders.
No, he's done. I mean, the Rahm Emanuel thing is interesting because we have speculated, just like after 8 years of Reagan, the Democrats came out with their version of Reagan, which was Bill Clinton. And then really Barack Obama was the Democrats' version of George Bush. Really, Barack Obama was a continuation of Bush, just catering to like liberal sensibilities. And now this next incarnation of the Democrats is going to be basically Trump light. And that is what Rahm Emanuel is. I mean, Rahm Emanuel, like, yo, man,
Listen,
if
people,
they can get their fucking look, I will never make the mistake of overestimating the intelligence and autonomy of Democratic voters. They will do absolutely anything.
Again.
They will vote for whoever the TV man or woman tells them to vote for.
Yeah.
If they could get them to vote for Rahm Emanuel, that would be a feat.
that
would be a feat.
And
I'm not putting it past him. I'm not putting it past him. But I mean, Rahm Emanuel is if I could think of, and you look, 4 years out, everybody chirps about running. The thing that's interesting about the Rahm Emanuel speculation is that if there's anybody who's going to be the Democrat version of Donald Trump, it's him. He's the same pugnacious, egomaniac, corrupt, gangster asshole that Trump is. I mean, he is the Democrat version of Donald Trump, and that could absolutely be the direction they go.
If I could add in something here, because first of all, Keaton, my God, you hit the nail on the head about who Rahm Emanuel is and how he's a proxy to Donald Trump.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Of it. As somebody who's had him as mayor of this city, I can assure everyone, to all the vote blue, no matter who people, you do not want Rahm Emanuel to be president of the whole country after what he has done to Chicago.
He looks like a bootlegger. He looks like he belongs in like the Al Capone crew. He looks like an extra from Boardwalk Empire. He really does.
First of all, do not put the glorious Saint Alphonse Capone in comparison to Rahm Emanuel. At least Alphonse Capone fed the people. But if you look at who Rahm Emanuel is, I mean, this man was destined to do a third term as Chicago mayor. The only thing that prevented him from happening or either gaining that seat again was the shooting and the death of Laquan McDonald, which blew up his entire political aspiration. And since then, he's been on recovery mode. And I think a lot of liberals have forgotten just how much happened, how much corruption happened under his watch and what he was allowed to do in this city. As someone who's a longtime resident, generations of my family have been living here, Rahm Emanuel was a death blow to this city, and we are still recovering, especially with the fact that we had a failed mayor with Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and of course the failed administration of Mayor Brandon Johnson. And Rome, when you come to Chicago, you will see, however long you're here, I know that Nick and Rome, you guys were here, same with you as Russell, you guys were here for the DNC convention, but Rome, I can guarantee you, you will see Chicago, the hyper-segregated city as it is, and the long-lasting impact of Rahm Emanuel's legacy on the Southwest Side neighborhoods about the schools shutting down. 54 Chicago public schools were shut down under Rahm Emanuel's administration. Half of the mental health facilities were shut down under Rahm Emanuel's administration. Police corruption, political corruption was running amok. If the Democrats truly want to be this stupid and have a Trump, you're going to get one, a very competent one, because what, you want to feel better about beating the orange boogeyman? That's not going to gain it. And it is everyone's social responsibility to remember who Rahm Emanuel is, how his administration failed, and his legacy in Chicago. So, Rome, I challenge you. Talk to the people.
Don't care.
But Rome, then when you get on that platform, you share with people what you see here. You share with people what has happened here and what he has done. It's been a long time since Emanuel took office, but his presence is still felt to this day.
Yeah, look at the Democrats.
I had the rant.
I was not there for the convention. I was there to settle this pizza beef that we had going. So finally we settled that. But go back to what Rome said and what Keaton was saying. Yeah, man, I've seen this my whole life. Like, any idea that these two parties are not basically working in collusion has gone out the window. Basically, the Republicans come in and they gut whatever protections people have, whatever fading echo of the New Deal is still there. Then Democrats get elected and don't really undo what the Republicans did because their donors like what the Republicans did.
Right.
They talk nice about it. They talk nicer. They deflect to identity politics and that kind of thing. But they basically continue the policies of the Republican with a kinder, gentler, liberal face on it. Then the next Republican comes in and ratchets it even further. And that's it. That's been going on my entire life. And now this is the ultimate.
You want to see the best example?
Trump going in, firing everybody, getting rid of the federal workforce, gutting what's left of the social safety net. The people who pay the Democrats, they like this shit. So yeah, you'll get someone, if you get a Democrat, you'll get a Rahm Emanuel, you'll get a Gavin Newsom, you'll get somebody like that who's gonna come in and just say a little bit of stuff about, yeah, well, we don't need to beat up on people quite this much, but they're not gonna do shit because their donors actually like what Trump's doing. They'll just maintain that.
Yeah, let me show you guys this to give the perfect example of what Russ is talking about. This is the response from Chuck Schumer in light of Trump's fascism crackdown dissent, where he essentially calls Mahmoud Khalil a anti-Semite. Essentially, I abhor many of the opinions and policies that Mahmoud Khalil holds and support, and have made my criticism of the anti-Semitic actions at Columbia loudly known. So he doesn't even start at saying, hey, man, I think Trump is doing some fascist shit. He starts with saying, oh, yo, by the way, this guy is anti-Semitic trash.
I hate this guy. Yeah.
He later explained how he advocated for campus crackdowns on quote-unquote anti-Semitism, equating criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. Essentially, the argument that Chuck Schumer is making is that, hey, man, I support cracking down these protests, too. I think they're anti-Semitic garbage. I don't think you should use the government to do it the way you're doing it. This is the face of the resistance, and this is why, and I want to give you guys thoughts on this. This is what you guys were mentioning earlier. It flows perfectly into this next part. Usually, when you have a president comes in like Trump, starts fucking shit up, usually that's a boom to the opposition party. Usually you would see midterm polling showing the opposition party dominating. That happened to Obama. Obama took office in the first midterm. Republicans cleaned house. Donald Trump took office, and then Democrats cleaned house during the midterms. But polling in the midterm for Democrats are showing very small, mild gains. And Democrats are historically unpopular. Let's open to the panel on this thoughts. Democrats' own polling reveals no one trusts them. And that's why they had Lisa Slotkin, who gave her response to Trump's State of the Union, where she's like, I'm a Cold War child. I support Reagan. I'm like, who is this for? It's a race to the bottom. So panel, anyone who want to respond?
I'll shoot first. They're horrible. So, no, go ahead, kid.
Go, kid, and then we go kid after kid.
So first of all, as the Democrats have showed themselves, they're the abusive partner. They slapped around their coalition. We saw how they rigged not one, not two, but 3 primaries altogether. We saw how they have failed to deliver any of their promises. And we've seen them make sure that they keep on saying, well, we promise that we'll do this, and we'll promise we'll do that. Just vote harder for us and give us more money. Vote harder for us next time, and we'll see what we can do. Just more and more false promises all the time. And they never delivered. They never secured anything for us. And in turn, we're still waiting. So why would anyone want to trust somebody? They're like Santa Claus, but like an addicted meth head. They make a promise, but they fail to deliver. All right, that was wrong. I'm sorry. That was wrong.
No. It's actually a great comparison because and like Russ was saying, like, they give you a smile, and to be honest, us looking at it from the left, looking at them, it just looks horrible. It looks scary. There's some of the things that they say are fucking terrifying. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't push back enough to be considered a opposition party, and they don't even give a fuck about the people enough to even do anything about these things. So yes, they be like, oh yeah, well, Trump is bad, but I'm gonna vote to give his military all the money and power that they want. We're gonna do whatever the fuck. Like, what are we still doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, why?
You had days of protests. I mean, Mahmoud Khalil, you had a big day of protest for him today outside the courthouse, and then you had a big day of protest for him on Monday. Where was the Democratic Party at those protests?
Nowhere,
because they don't want to be seen. They don't want to share a stage with people who they consider radical pro-Palestine activists.
Right.
They don't want to go up on the stage and say their piece and then have the next person come up on the stage and say they support the Palestinian right to return or right to resist, God forbid, right? They don't want to be associated with that. And so they will not participate in that kind of movement building because they consider it toxic, just as the Republicans consider it toxic. Now, if we're going to really split hairs here, the Democrats are absolutely fascists. I mean, you saw the police crackdowns on these campus protesters during the Biden years. I would say, if I had to quibble and split hairs, the Republicans take it to a point of overt Nazism in the sense that they openly revel in it. They openly take pleasure in inflicting pain on the protesters and on the students, whereas the Democrats sit back and let the cops do their dirty work. But to me, what makes a Nazi, right? And all Nazis are fascists, not all fascists are Nazis. What makes a Nazi is the outward celebration of this pain that you are inflicting on people, like Israeli comedians who make Holocaust jokes, right? Who make genocide jokes. That to me is where this goes. And the Democrats are not willing to stand up to it because they don't want to be associated with the opposition at the end of the day. They think the opposition is too toxic in the other direction.
They prefer.
We can remember, you guys, this is Democrats are a minority party. Like, they are a minority. The majority of people who's eligible to vote do not vote. They do not have any faith in this system whatsoever. So whether they be on the right of you or to the left, you're like, most of us are socialists, communists, or left wing. So everything is going to look to the right to you.
Yep.
The real opposition is going to come from the ground. It's going to come from the people who have been starved. It's going to come from the people who have been beaten down by the police, that has been given billions of dollars by Democrats and Republicans. The opposition party is going to come from people like me and you, not the Democrats. And just because they have a platform or just because they have money and resources, don't make them reliable, because what's it use to having access to billions and billions of fucking dollars and ways to change law if you refuse to do so? So if you want real opposition, you have to change the country yourself. You have to change your surrounding, and you have to change the people mind around you. You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of people keep, like, they don't want us talking to these people, don't want us talking to these people. But in reality, the majority of Americans are right wing. We have to talk to a lot of fucking people. Like, there's people who come to my giveaways and they be like, what the fuck is this flag? You know what I'm saying? Like, well, what is y'all doing this for? What are y'all doing that for? And they voted for Obama. They might vote for Trump. They might believe in certain things and whatever it may be. But when I break down what am I here for, what are we doing, and what are we building, then the people will want to join. You would get actual bodies on the ground. You can get feet on the ground. It's not going to come from the Democratic Party. It's not even going to come from the fucking Green Party unless you fucking take over that motherfucker. And that's what RBN have been trying to do our best, infiltrate these parties who themselves left wing, and do what we can. This is why, they're doubling down on the reparations bills. They're doubling down on black economics and black excellence because of the work that RBN have been doing on the ground. So yes, it's easy to look at the Republicans and then look at the Democrats and say, oh, well, they are opposition to each other. But if you look at it from a left-wing point of view, all of them stand together. When it's time to crack you in your motherfucking head, all of them stand together. When it's time to take your rights, all of them stand together or stand to the side. So when Democrats had office, supermajority, they could have codified Roe v. Wade. You know what I'm saying? They could have done something about gun legislation, even though I don't believe in that. Whatever the fuck it may be, whatever you guys wanted from them, they could have been did this shit. But the real change ain't gonna come unless you really want it. Real change ain't gonna come unless you actually want it and you're gonna try to thrive for it. So yes, you can want healthcare, education, and this and that. Who the fuck don't want that? I want reparations. You think I'm gonna get that from Democrats? Come on now. So I know if I want these things, we're gonna have to get back on the ground and not depend on these parties, not depend on a face of a party like a Bernie Sanders or AOC, because these people are here to just keep you in line. They're here to keep you in line so you can get shot down by the Republicans. That's all they do. They line you up so the Republicans can shoot you down, and they come back around and be like, oh, well.
They trying to start it again. They already trying to start it again. Already seeing the Bernie media industrial complex saying, oh, we should support Ro Khanna 2028. They already planning the sheepdog operations. I want to show you guys this though. I think this is funny because we mentioned the harsh anti-Palestinian racism in the Democratic Party, and that's why they don't want to be seen with Mahmoud Khalil, because they don't want to be. They just have a rabid hatred of Palestinians. But this is why they wouldn't allow Palestinians to speak at the DNC. They was Democrats.
Remember that.
They was Palestinians who was willing to endorse someone.
They were going to endorse him. They wrote an endorsement speech. They wouldn't let him on the stage.
And I said, go away. In fact, they kicked him out of the United Center. And then, of course, there were all the liberals who, as soon as they were hearing the names of all the dead kids, you had all of them. And they all came in different shapes and form, covering their ears or mocking the dead. Brilliant job, Democrats.
And I found this video, which is funny because Chuck Schumer essentially was showing his racist side because he's smearing Mahmoud as anti-Semitic for being critical of Israel. And now you also see the same intense hatred from the Republican Party. And this is the same time that Trump has done this. And it's one of the most anti-Semitic shit you will ever see in your entire life. Like, there's a lot of bullshit anti-Semitism that we call out all the time. But this is peak. Like, this is, if you can define anti-Semitism in a nutshell, this is a Christian. This is an evangelical Christian calling a hardcore Zionist Jew a fake Jew.
Right.
Who's actually a secret Palestinian. It doesn't get more anti-Semitic than this shit. Let's watch the video.
And Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. He's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
He's not.
When did this happen?
Now, this is our point that Zionism is the height of anti-Semitism. Imagine how fucking far gone you have to be to look at Chuck Schumer, a diehard Zionist, and then label him a fake fucking Jew. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, look, what we got to understand, look, everything we're saying is right, compounded by the fact that Donald Trump is clearly owned by Israel. He's owned by Israel. Miriam Adelson gave him the $100 million. When the libs all freaked out that he was a Manchurian candidate in 2016, they were correct. He was a Manchurian candidate. They just had the wrong country. It wasn't Russia. It was Israel that owned him. Israel colluded with his campaign in 2016. The Nation did a huge write-up about this. A lot of the evidence that people cited as evidence for Russiagate was actually evidence that Israel was colluding with the Trump campaign. He is completely owned by Israel. He is not an American leader. He is a foreign asset to the extent that Israel is foreign. And it's hard to know where Israel ends and America begins. But he is in their pocket fully and completely. That's obvious.
I'll play it again. I want to hear it again. This is hilarious.
And Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. He's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
This is a Christian who took someone's Jewishness away. And to your point, Ken, I had to show this. I showed this yesterday when I had a Counterpoint China on. But this is like the halls of our Congress. Just look at this. I got to mute the music for YouTube's sake. But you see nothing but Israeli flags everywhere. Nothing but I stand with Israel badges. Israeli flags everywhere. I stand with Israel. Like literally the most treasonous shit you will see. You will see Congress people. They will give addresses. They'll put out videos with a United States flag and an Israeli flag. Or sometimes they say, fuck it, we're just going to do the Israeli flag for the U.S. flag. Look, John Fetterman. He's a 2028 prospect as well, apparently.
Oh, I want him to be the candidate. That would be the funniest.
Dude, if he runs, that could be fucking hilarious. You guys already know what time it is. But this is our occupied government. If you say that we are Zionist occupied, that's apparently anti-Semitic. But Trump calling people fake Jews, and this is what they do all the time. Now, I remember Democrats called Bernie Sanders fake fucking Jew when he was a threat to their power. And this is the last video I want to show. I want to get you guys' reaction to this because this is Donald Trump's ideology, Christian Zionism, and Charlie Kirk, someone I never ever cover on the channel, but this clip was golden because it shows the mind rot of the Christian Zionists, the Donald Trump MAGA right. I know there's quote unquote MAGA dissidents. I don't know what that means if you enable that power, but let's say quote unquote MAGA dissidents. They have no power. It's people like Charlie Kirk who has influence. People like Ben Shapiro. And this is Charlie Kirk debating a Palestinian Christian, where the Palestinian Christian calls him out for support of Israel. And the reason why this clip is interesting because Charlie Kirk just exposed how pathetic and how cuck-like his ideology. If you didn't hear the question, he said, "How does Israel benefit us as a partner?" Which I have found is a great opener. Like if you're ever questioning a Zionist, this person knows what they're doing. That is usually a great opener because it's a hard-ass question to answer. How does Israel benefit us? Great opener, and let's see how he flails. And then I'll give you guys a reaction after the clip here.
I think it's on mute.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't hear it. There's something wrong with it.
You don't hear anything?
No.
All right, thanks for letting me know. It's been a glitch to happen. Let me reset it.
Yeah.
He essentially asked in the beginning, how does it benefit? Let us know the audio work. I just had to refresh it. Let me know if it's working or not.
How does Israel benefit us? Well, first and foremost, you're
you
a Christian.
Okay, you can hear it?
Yeah, no, yeah, we got it.
Cool.
Foremost, you're a Christian. Yes. How do we know the Bible is true?
From the land of Israel, Palestine.
Well, it's not Palestine.
You want me to put British dash Palestine? Does that help?
Well, as a Christian, so are you Armenian Christian?
No, I'm actually Palestinian.
Okay. So what? And you're Christian?
Yes, I'm a Christian.
Okay. Well, praise God. I'm thrilled to hear that. So, but I think you can acknowledge that we as Christians have to honor the Jews. Do you believe that?
I think we should honor everyone. People are people at the end of the.
As a Christian, it's our job to honor the Jews. And you guys see how this guy who debated Charlie Kirk immediately checkmates him. And he said, no, we're supposed to honor everybody. Oh, well, that's utterly destroyed. You guys see the mindset of these people? The Christian belief that they have to honor the Jews. That's the same. Any reactions?
I don't get why.
Yeah, well, this is why. Look, I understand, man. When a new administration comes in, there's a tendency of people, especially if you hated the outgoing administration, to want to see the best. So you had a lot of people that, in my opinion, should have known better. Even as Trump is appointing one Christian Zionist maniac after another to his cabinet. You got Pete Hegseth, who's gone on fulsome rants about the biblical basis for Israel. You got Mike Huckabee. This guy shouldn't be running a dog pound. You send this guy to be the ambassador to Israel, this Zionist kook. You got, what if people who were adherents of another religion spoke like this? Yes, well, clearly Krishna is going to come down and dictate our foreign policy. How would they react to that? What would they do? Yeah, well, the Buddha is going to make our decisions about foreign policy. What would they do? It's insane. And you had a lot of people who should have known better being like, yeah, well, Hegseth says he might cut something eventually from somewhere. Deep State's on the run now. He's staffing his cabinet with fucking maniacs. With psychopaths. Even the ones who are not religious fanatics are Zionist fanatics. Tulsi Gabbard is a fanatical Zionist. Kash Patel says we're not doing enough for Israel. Pam Bondi said before she was even confirmed that she wanted to have the FBI question student protesters. They're doing exactly what they said they would do. So when all of a sudden Trump starts naming these guys, and Elizabeth Warren doesn't like them, and that's the extent of your take, right? Oh yeah, no, you see how Elizabeth Warren freaked out? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? What the fuck does these people are psychos? Bobby Kennedy, he's a fucking nut job.
Yeah.
The first thing he says is he calls protesting Zionism a public health crisis.
Yeah, anti-Semitism is an illness. Yeah.
Anti-Semitism is the greatest illness. What did you think these people were gonna do, and why would you pump them up? Yeah, maybe you agree with them on this and that. You know what, man? I bet if you sit down and you look at the writings of Mussolini, you'll find shit there that you would agree with, right?
Yeah.
Anybody, pretty much. That doesn't mean you support them and cover for the fact that these people are sick maniacs. You're not talking a couple of points of disagreement. These people are sick maniacs. And now we're seeing it play out 6 weeks in. It's only 6 weeks in.
Before I get Roman here, because I think Roman was trying. I want to play the clip again. I want you guys to hear it in full, where he says that that it's our. Let me know the audio working, because there's been a glitch going on. But let me know the audio is working. But I want you guys to see the part again where he says it's our job as Christians to honor the Jews. And I want you to peep the point when he gets checkmated by someone who's a rational motherfucker and not a insane Christian Zionist. And after I play the clip again, Rome, you can respond and we can open the panel back up.
Okay, well, praise God. I'm thrilled to hear that. So, but I think you can acknowledge that we as Christians have to honor the Jews. Do you believe that?
What the fuck?
I think we should honor everyone. People are people at the end of the day.
But in our scriptures, it does say that we should bless the Jews. That Genesis 12:3, bless those. I will bless those descendants that bless me. And we have a covenant with Israel. Do you share that as a Christian, that belief?
I'll open it back to the panel. I already ran it a lot. Go ahead,
man.
Ron.
I don't get why. I mean, I get why, but a lot of these people, this deep state, this deep state, that, on the right wing, that has right wing ideology. They always talk about deep state, but they don't ask themselves, why is it like a motherfucker like, what's his name, Kurt, whatever the fuck?
Yeah,
why is it that he can get to go to these schools, spread this hate, misinformation, and all kind of bullshit, but when we protest for a better life, when we protest to stop the killing and bloodshed of hundreds of thousands of children, when we try to protest for the for them misplacing people, and it's so crazy how these people will be controlled and they think that they are out of it, like I'm out of the matrix. Like a lot of people on that side, they say, it's the matrix. You got to break free from the matrix. So I'm going to have sex with a whole bunch of women. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of clothes, and I'm going to be a consumer. Like, you guys don't fucking get it. If we can't sit here and protest for better rights, if we can't sit there and go to and protest in front of these colleges for to stop bombings, and they letting people like this man go on a tour on colleges spreading hate and misinformation, then somebody is controlled. Somebody's being paid to spit that bullshit. He's not no truth teller. You know what I'm saying? Truth tellers get locked up for terrorism. Truth tellers get locked up. They get shot. They get, they get pushed to the back on a hush hush. These men are not smart. You know what I'm saying? I don't even get why they get the benefit of the doubt, whatever the fuck it may be from the people that support them. But if you look into it, all these people, what was the Tim Pool was being paid? A couple of them was being paid by the government to spread this bullshit. And I'm not, you know what I'm saying? It's fucked up. It's fucked up, but it is what it is. I say, I don't know where the fuck that nigga be at, bro. He don't come to no black schools with that bullshit. Because I want to catch him in Detroit. I want to catch him in Detroit.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, it is what Zoya said there in the chat is absolutely right. This is empire. He serves the empire. Yeah. And that does manifest itself in racism to a very large extent. Yeah, I mean, he is considered acceptable on these campuses because of who he is and how he presents and who he serves and how he serves them. It's really that simple. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, the case for Palestine is open and shut. The case against Israel is open and shut. Not only is that opinion not welcome, that opinion is being criminalized. It was criminalized to a large extent under Biden, and this administration is taking it a step further because their base is of a character that they don't mind them taking it a step further. See, Biden always had to kind of act like he respected people's rights, even though he didn't, right? Because liberals, their sensibilities are very soft, right? They like to think of themselves as good and compassionate and tolerant. With this crew, all that pretense is out the window and all bets are off. And they're going to move very, very, very quickly. We're only 6 weeks in. We got 3 weeks, 3 years and 46 weeks to go. And past then, it's no guarantee there will be any reprieve because you're either getting J.D. Vance or Rahm Emanuel.
I'm a big believer in Pete Buttigieg, man.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna push him big.
They're not gonna push that guy. There's no way.
Moving in with Glenn in Brazil.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Could you imagine if the primary came down to Buttigieg versus Emanuel and they had
Dude,
to
that
do
would
a
be-
really
No,
nasty campaign?
no.
I'm sorry to say,
No,
but that would be
no.
content gold. It would be content gold.
It would be, but at what cost to our souls? Okay,
I
what
know. I'm saying,
cost would it do to us?
unfortunately, it would be a boom in content.
They're gonna be
No.
calling.
We're
so
not
many
even
black
in thing. I
people
want to get around
homophobic.
the wrong. Go ahead.
They're gonna be calling so many black people homophobic if you run and lose. Oh my god!
They already was too. They already did.
Look, talk to the people of South Bend, Indiana, how they felt about Mayor Pete Buttigieg. They're gonna let you know how they felt. I mean, I'm
he
surprised people
gentrified
forgot
the
about that.
neighborhoods, and then like his when he was mayor, he made sure that those neighborhoods got gentrified. Made sure
Just
that they
like
didn't put any money in those fucking poor communities.
Just
Then
like
he
Ron.
get a raise. Like being
like
an
Ron.
American politician is the most ass backward shit. It's the only fucking job where you don't have to do your job and you get a higher position. You get into a position where motherfuckers don't even have to vote you in, or they can't vote you out anymore like a judge. You know, you can sit your whole career on your fucking hands, and this is what's gonna be with the new class of Democrats, AOC, Ilhan Omar, fucking Rashida Tlaib. All these people are going to be sitting on their fucking hands for generations, and we're going to be funding them, giving them money. And I say we because they get a check for the rest of their lives. They get health care for the rest of their lives.
No.
They get housing for the rest of their lives. And that shit comes out of your paycheck, out of you and your mother paycheck. You know what I'm saying? This is the most backwards ass country where the politicians fail the people and get a promotion. That's because they're not working for you. They're not working for the everyday worker, whether you be white or black. No matter how you feel, whether you're a racist or prejudiced, they don't work for you. These people sit on their fucking hands. Republicans too. You know, and a lot of people will say, well, out of the 55 million jobs, Democrats created 50 million of them. Okay, and how many have they actually secured? You know what I'm saying? How many of these jobs can actually pay you to live? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they might have created 50 million jobs, but motherfucker, you need 3 of them bitches to survive. They haven't done anything to solidify your rights. You know, workers' rights, they crush down on that. They stop your striking. They do all that shit. So, hell yeah, they might have created 50 million jobs, but nigga, where's the backup when we need it, when the workers need it, when Republicans come and try to take, you know what I'm saying, try to chop down or keep minimum wage as low as possible? Where's that at? During the pandemic, it wasn't Republicans or Democrats the reason why we got $15 an hour here in Michigan, $15 an hour down there in Chicago. It was the pandemic and the people saying, I ain't going for that shit.
Ballot initiatives in Missouri. Like, we got everything in Missouri about ballot initiatives. They're not goddamn. In fact, we've been fighting against politicians. There was Governor Persons of Missouri. He vetoed the Medicare minimum wage increase, the Medicare expansion. The judge overthrew it. So, like, we getting stuff despite the politicians. to your point, Rome. But I won't pass the panel. Any last thoughts? Because we'll begin to wrap up. We'll wrap at around 9 minutes. I'll pass it to Kid. Let's go around. Any final thoughts? Anything that you guys have coming up? I know you did a banger show with Keaton.
Yeah, sure thing.
You got a lot of guests coming up, man.
Well, first of all, I want to definitely give a huge shout out to Keaton and Lee Camp for joining me on Tuesday's show, especially when it comes down to censorship and what happened to Do Dissidence live stream on Sunday, which I am against. I don't like what happened to you guys. I'm very concerned about the future of free speech. I think a lot of us need to be well aware of the jackboot, the guillotine that's going to be coming at us, and the knock at the door saying political police. And this, no matter where you stand politically or socially, what generation you're part of, this is all of our fight. And if you care about free speech, if you care about independent media, put aside your differences. I'm not asking us to be friends or kumbaya, but I am asking if let's stand on consistency, the right to protest, the right to speak, the right to hold these politicians accountable. And if this administration or any other future administrations continue to push on us, someday that First Amendment, if not today, is going to be gone. And a lot of us need to be on alert and on edge. So I'm going to have on tomorrow's show Larry Sharp. He's a libertarian. He is also, like myself, a free speech absolutist. I'm going to also have on Friday, I'm going to give a huge shout out to Rome. You're going to be on my show Friday. I can't wait for that. I know there's a couple other things you want to coordinate with me, so all good on that. I'm trying to get a couple other people to show up on the Hard Lens Media. We're live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central, and I'm urging everyone that's watching this, please support all independent media, RBN, Do Dissidence, Hard Lens Media. Double check you're still subscribed. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, because right now we need to be booting up and suiting up and be ready for whatever potentials come our way. And the only way we're going to do it is by working together.
Thank you.
What a powerful super chat name. But anyway, Keaton.
Yeah.
we know
Yeah, we know him. We know that guy. He's back and bigger
Donald.
than ever.
Like, bro, chill, bro.
Yeah,
Anyway, Keaton. Yeah, what's your thoughts?
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, it'd be great to be here as always. We're on at noon tomorrow. But yeah, no, great show. I mean, every time we do one of these, it's jam-packed now, because I feel like going 2 days without talking leaves you with a ton of stuff to talk about. Doing these once a month now, it's just like, it's crazy, but it's a great time. And so thanks, Nick. Thanks, Kid. And Rome, you were very badly missed, so it's really great to see you back.
Welcome
great
back.
to see you, man.
Be back. I ain't in that motherfucking cell. I had fun in jail. I ain't gonna lie.
That's good.
Words I never hear.
Man, I was preaching like a motherfucker, man. I done turned so many people into socialists and communists and all kind of
It's true.
shit.
The prison population's much more reachable than the free population.
Because I was like, we already communists here. You know what I'm saying? We get a different type of currency. We work a different type of way. You know, like even if we get into it, like we was medium high, and next to us was like murderers and stuff like that. So I got to talk to the killers. I'm like, don't lose your killer instinct. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna need you one of these days. Never lose your killer instinct, because once you lose your killer instinct, you are already dead. You know what I'm saying? Like it takes a lot. We need our soldiers. You know, like you guys just didn't aim at the right person. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. Because truth be told, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you're gonna need motherfuckers who know how to catch a body and know how to work.
I'm losing that shit.
You're gonna need that shit.
To change the subject, but not really, before this channel gets taken down.
Yeah. You don't want that to happen. Yeah, hold on. Be careful.
I'm losing my shit right now.
I don't want nothing to happen to nobody. I'm just saying, like, you know,
I usually save those comments for Rumble.
Rumble or Kick.
No, man.
Man, you preaching, man. Like, what you do? I was like, man, y'all watch my show. Y'all get out this motherfucker. I got this dude from my hood. He had fucked around and killed 2 people, but it was in self-defense. So, you know, they messed up his trial. He gonna do it over. Hopefully, he get out. He said he want to help us on the ground, help us with the library and shit like that. And we need soldiers, bro. We need people that actually, you know what I'm saying, know how to protect people, know how to actually do certain things to make sure that we live on and make sure that we are protected. Because it's not only just us, the mouthpieces like Kit, you know what I'm saying, or due diligence, RBN.
I
We're
remember
gonna have people out there on the ground saying
You
this
just-
shit. We're feeling this.
I remember famously
RBN's going to get a lot of Patreon subscriptions from number 425255, number 68.
Hey, we lectured for a long time, Ron. We said we need people gang banging against the state instead of in their own community. So I definitely like Russ. I want to give you a chance. I think this is a great way to end the stream. But Russ, final thoughts. Let's wrap up.
All right. So for one thing, on a less inflammatory to the censors level,
Yes.
the last time I got arrested, I was in the middle of Tech Week, which is like the last week before you open a show where you're putting the lights and the sound in. And I wasn't in for that long. It was minor shit. But it was definitely a mental mind fuck for me because I liked the people in the jail so much better than the people I was doing the show with. So, like, when I walked out of there and walked back into the theater, I was like, I wish I could put all this together. I wish I could take those people and bring them here.
Right.
I could work with them. But speaking of killers on another level, if anybody's in the New York area this weekend, I'm doing my Irish Mob of Hell's Kitchen tour, where I get into the Irish mob that used to operate on the West Side all the way into the 80s. So if you go to Eventbrite, Irish Mob of Hell's Kitchen, I will be doing that Friday and Saturday if you are in the area.
Nice. Thank you guys. These shows are always my favorite. And we have another banger tomorrow, man. We had Jody Barr join us. We have Mario for Counterpoint China yesterday. This has been a great week. So not only do we have Post DUOPOLY, we also have RBN Roundtable back to back tomorrow. And on RBN Roundtable, we're gonna have Mark Kimberly join us as well. We're gonna have a lot of activists. It's almost like a mini like general strike summit in a way, because we're gonna have activists come on as well. So we have another banger show for tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Post DUOPOLY is always great to have you guys on. I can't wait to do this again next month. Make sure you guys check out Harlan's Media and do Dissidence. Check you out later. Peace out, y'all. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.